Linda Carbino, and I'd like to welcome you to Walking Through Life. Today I have three guests: Tom Ketteridge, the Managing Director of the Haven; Jody Turner, who is the shelter advocate; and Sergio Colon, who is a person that was at the Haven that has graduated and moved on. Now I'd like to start with Tom and talk a little bit about the Haven and what you offer. I know you have wonderful programs there, not only for the people in the Haven, but for the people in the community too.
Right. The Haven has four principal programs. Probably most well known is the family shelter. We're capable of housing up to 8 families at a time who have no place to stay. They have to have at least one minor child to stay there, so we don't take single adults or couples without kids. Not yet, anyway. We're working on it.
Yeah.
So in addition to the shelter, we also have a food shelf and a clothing room, both of which serve the entire community. In other words, not just for shelter guests; it's open to the entire community. And we also have a very active educational program, especially for kids, after-school programs, enrichment programs, field trips, that sort of thing. So if those 4 programs are supported primarily by the community. Our budget this year is $675,000. Almost all of that comes locally from the community, individuals, businesses, churches, civic groups, things of that nature. We get about 8% of our budget from the federal government. Like I said, the rest of it is all private donations.
And I think people would feel really good knowing that they would be able to donate to something that is so needed here, for families, that don't have anywhere to go that the Haven serves. And I know I want to talk a little bit about the food shelf and the clothing room that is open to the community. I want to say myself, I've had to use the clothing room and the food shelf, and I was welcomed with the people there. I mean, they were wonderful. You have wonderful volunteers there, wonderful staff, wonderful people. And I know for me, myself, donating would be one of the things that I'd like to do, whether you come in with a case of vegetables or whatever you got, or certainly send in the Haven money anonymously or whatever. And I wanted to get the website and the address so that people, if they do want to donate,
Sure.
that would be wonderful if they could do that.
We always need cash. Cash is always great.
Cash.
I know we need to raise a lot of money each year, so money is always probably the thing we welcome the most. But also food. We give out more food than we get, so we wind up buying food to supplement that. And clothing, we could always use clothing donations. And we have we just developed a brand new website. It's only been up for about a week, and it's at www.uppervalleyhaven.org. And it's a fabulous website. I just went through the whole thing myself this past weekend. It tells you everything you want to know about the Haven and probably more.
And I wanted to say a little bit too about Christmas, Thanksgiving, the special things that the Haven does for people in the community that may not have a Thanksgiving or a Christmas.
Right.
I know you supply turkeys and all the fixings.
Yep. Well, what we do in the food shelf around Christmas is during the rest of the year, as part of the food shelf, when you get your week's worth of groceries off the shelf, you also get either a package of chicken or a package of hot dogs. Around the holidays, around Thanksgiving and Christmas, we give out in place of that we give away a turkey. So between Christmas and Thanksgiving last year, we gave away over 500 turkeys.
Wow.
And then we also, speaking of the holidays, we also get lots of presents and things of that nature donated to us. So we always make sure the shelter guests, at Christmas morning, the kids and the adults are not disappointed around the tree. And then, in fact, we get more stuff than we could possibly give to the 8 families that are here. So we also make those things available to the rest of the community.
And
we have like a little Santa's workshop set up, so people can come in and take stuff for their families.
So if they happen to be buying toys for their children, if they picked up one and just donated to the Haven, I think that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it happens a lot.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about the volunteer opportunities that you have at the Haven. What could somebody do if they find themselves with a couple hours on their hand, and they might want to do something? Right.
Well, I mean, on a drop-in basis, we could always use volunteers, just to do, stock the food shelves or stuff envelopes or whatever. But there's 2 principal for people who are interested in volunteering on an ongoing basis. There's really 2 principal opportunities. One is to work on our food shelf. In other words, what we do is we have 2 volunteers who run the food. Don't run the food shelf, but they staff the food shelf. They answer the phone, and when people come in for food, they take them through the food shelf, help them pick out what they want, and also give them the right amounts, because the amount of food you get is proportional to the size of your family. So we have 2 people on all the time. We divide each day, Monday through Friday, into 2. So there's 2 people on in the morning and 2 people on in the afternoon. So there's 10 slots basically available for that. And then also the other main volunteer opportunity is with our after-school program with the kids.
Right.
Monday through Thursday, whenever there's school, we have volunteers come by, act as mentors and tutors to help the kids with their homework and just be buddies to them.
Right, and I think that's a great opportunity to be able to help out one of the children that might be there in the program when they're newly, especially when the mom's newly to go into work and they're they're not used to being left alone.
Yeah, well, the main purpose of the after-school program is, these kids are struggling. I mean, think about how I try and imagine myself what it must be like to be a 8-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, and bouncing around from home to home, over a period of several years. I can't help but think you're going to fall behind in your schoolwork. You're constantly losing friends and pets and family. And so. What we try and do is give them some stability, get them excited about education, get them to appreciate the fact that if you're going to go anywhere in life, it's education. Without education, you ain't going anywhere.
Right.
So, and to get them thinking beyond working at Walmart or McDonald's, get them thinking about going to college, becoming a professional. If they want to be an accountant or an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, whatever they want to be. They're only limited by their own imagination and their own determination. So we try and get them to believe in themselves.
I think that's wonderful, and I did get a chance to take a tour of the Haven, and I did see the different areas, the food shelf, which is I consider that to be huge. I mean, what was it saying? You had 4 refrigerators there in that one, and then you have a couple of freezers that you keep the meat in. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say too, for the people at the shelter, you've got a great playground for the children, and you said that you just put a new swing in? Or?
Yeah, it's a swing and then it's kind of a multi-dimensional, a slide and a climbing wall and a little tube for them and monkey bars. Yeah, it's got a whole bunch of different things. So we got a grant for that and we're just having it installed starting today. So it should be ready in about a week.
Wow. Yep. Okay, and then I wanted to go to Jody Turner, who is the shelter advocate, and I wanted to find out a little bit about what you do there, what services you offer there. And I know that when I took a tour of the shelter where the people stayed, and they had it's the 4 bedrooms with I don't know how many beds in each one.
2 sets of bunks, and then there's a little side room, full-size bed for the adults.
Oh, there's a side room actually.
Yeah, a little side room, separate.
And then you had said you had one that was handicapped in case you had somebody that was handicapped.
On my side, yeah, sleeps 2 less people, and gives more space for the wheelchair. And then we have a wheelchair accessible shower in one of my bathrooms.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I noticed when I was in there that the rooms here and your office is right here.
Yep.
So people can feel comfortable coming to talk to you.
Yep, and part of the communal space there in the kitchen, dining room, living room. So they can.
And there's a little living room there, and then I saw the dining room, the big table. Mm-hmm. And I think Sergio is sharing too that a lot of times you have to fix your own meals.
Right.
And you were saying something about when there was families that had less that you would all get together and help them out and give them a little bit of what you had. It's a sense of Yeah.
Sometimes when families came in, they really came in with nothing, and the families that I lived with, would just automatically, we'd just turn out a big dinner so that the other needy family within the group also ate.
I think that's wonderful. And what I was gonna ask you too, Sergio, is when you were there, it was quite comfortable. I mean, you got along with everybody there, and did you have a lot of help with your 2 sons? Oh, that's what we wanted to do. We also want to introduce his 2 sons.
Yeah, I have a 10-year-old. His name is Ethan, and an 8-year-old. His name is Cameron, and it was very comfortable. It was clean, safe. You lived with 4 families, and so from time to time it got to be a little bit hard. But that's just you kind of give up a little bit of your privacy. But it was still a great place, and the Haven gave you stability. and that's really priceless.
Right. And I also wanted to say that your two sons are special.
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit about that, if you could?
Yeah, Ethan and Cameron, have some, they have post-traumatic stress disorder, and Cameron also suffers from fetal alcohol syndrome. And they both are adopted, so I'm kind of like an odd case for the Haven. Usually it's family with biological children, but for me, we had gone through Hurricane Charlie, and I found myself becoming a single parent, and so it was hard. And the foundation that the Haven gives each family is truly priceless. Some families don't really see the gift, but I definitely did.
And you can tell the way that you talk is that you appreciate what you received. And I want to say, I think it's so brave of you that you were able to come from Florida and come here, and that you were able to take your sons and go to the Haven and get some help. And then in the same sense, being able to move out on your own, and finding a place. And you just told me that you found a job, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah, I found a part-time position through the Hartford School District. I'm working at one of their middle schools called HARP. It's a middle school for children with autism, and I really enjoy it because that's what I'm going to school for, is to deal with children with special needs.
And that's a gift to be able to do that. And I know you're gonna go far with that. I can tell just by talking to you. You've got an awesome personality, and I'm sure the little kids love you.
Yeah, and the one thing too that the Haven offers is continual support. They continually help families with food and clothing, even after they've left the Haven and to move on with their lives. And so from time to time, you can always come in and get a food shelf, clothing. Sometimes they just they aid you in so many different ways that
it's kind of like they become your little family too.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel connected to Tom and Jody then.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do. They feel that way to you too, because they both talk about you. So,
Yeah.
in a good way.
Yeah.
Not a bad way. Well, I don't know, no, Jody.
Well, it's a lot of families sometimes don't think about people being homeless, and
That's right.
and I never thought of myself becoming homeless, but
It must have been very scary when you realized that. Yeah.
And and there's more to the stigma of homelessness than just that single guy that people think of standing on the street with a sign. There's families and whole families that just can't make it, and the gift of support and helping families get stable again is just a priceless gift.
And do you see yourself going back to the Haven and maybe doing some work there? And
yeah, the Haven has they hope to open a single shelter for single people, and I would really like to become a part of that.
I think that would be great, and I'm sure that Tom would welcome that, any help with that. I'd like to help with that too. I would love to.
And the community needs to understand that, the gift of support to somebody, like in my case, I was a ward of the state, and so I had no parents. So after, surviving a natural disaster and losing my spouse, who was a support, so there's single people out there. There's single parents. There are married couples who don't have that parental, somebody to fall back on, and the Haven gives you that sense. If you're out there working and showing that you're doing your part and that you're giving your family the Haven will back you.
And I think that the Haven is a wonderful program, and I do want to encourage anybody out there that may have an extra $1 or $2. It doesn't matter what. Even if you got 50 cents, put it in an envelope and send it to Tom. He'll get a good laugh at it. So that's a challenge. Send him a quarter and see what happens. But no, certainly, I do feel that we can do something. We can make a difference, and this is White River Junction. And the people here, you know, I'm sure the whole community wants to support the Haven and support the programs that you have there, because it's a great need for that, not only here and White River Junction, but all over. And we've got the Haven as a model, as an example that this works for people, but works for families. And I would be excited to hear when you do open a singles family one. I think that would be wonderful. Yep. You know, of course, I'd say you'd have to have the men on one end and the women on the other. You know, you'd have to have a male take care of it.
We'll have that all figured out.
Yeah. So, and Jody, how long have you been actually working at the Haven now?
3 years, going on 4.
And what made you come to the Haven? Was it?
Oh, well, I had worked in the community mental health agency, and I used to bring a lot of people up there to get to the food shelf and to the clothing room, and I got to know the staff a little bit, Barbara, little Tom, and Eva, and it seemed like a really nice team to work with. So I gave it a try. When they expanded, they were hiring a second advocate, so that's when I went for it.
And you enjoy it?
I love it. Yeah. I loved my other job too.
Oh, I know you did. Yeah.
She was ready for a change.
Yeah. Actually, Jody was the one that helped me get out of my agoraphobia. If anyone knows. Yeah. Okay. She did a great job of that.
Yeah.
And she learned what my weaknesses were. All she had to do is say food if you get there. So yeah, and I'm sure the Haven's very glad to have you.
I hope so.
Oh yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about Tom. Now, your story was interesting. How you came to the Haven, because you said that you were an accountant, and you didn't feel that was what you really wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I've had a number of different careers. I started off as a biology major.
Oh wow!
And worked in the pharmaceutical business I made some radiopharmaceuticals, which are radioactive pharmaceuticals, and then in biotech, about 5 years in radioactive, and then about 6 years in biotech. But then decided to go back to school, study accounting, and found a program that could take me from knowing nothing about accounting to sitting for the CPA exam in 8 months.
Wow.
That was appealing because it got it done quickly, because I went back to school to study accounting at age 38. So getting it done quickly was something that appealed to me. So I did that program, and by the grace of God, passed the CPA exam on the first shot, which is quite a feat. And then I worked in accounting for about 6 years, and actually during that time I actually became a board member of the Haven.
Oh.
And it was at that time that I was a donor of the Haven for a long time, like 10 years, and then became a board member in 1999. And at that time, that's when they were kind of starting to look for a general manager. They never really had a general manager before. The board kind of served as the de facto general manager, which, it's kind of ineffective because they're not there every day, and they don't get to appreciate the nuances of what's going on in day-to-day operations. So they realized they needed to have someone on the ground there every day. So they hired someone temporary for a while, but then when I was on the board for about a year, I said to myself, I'm ready for a new challenge. I knew they were looking to build a new building. And expand, and those kinds of things kind of intrigued me. The challenge of trying to oversee all that and make it all happen. So I made myself available to the board. Say, if you'd have me, I'm more than willing to take on this challenge, and they agreed. So that was 7 years ago. So 7.
And you still like your job?
Oh yeah, it's I can't imagine. I can't imagine not doing this job.
And I'm sure it makes you guys feel good when you do get somebody like Sergio that comes in and really works really hard.
Oh, yes. That's what makes it really makes it all worthwhile, is to see to see somebody in a really down and out state, and one day, and then a few months later, see them working and going to school, and their kids flourishing and doing well in school, and have their own apartment, and, maybe they didn't have a car, now they have a car. All these things starting to transform their lives. That is very, very rewarding. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. It's I put a lot of hours in, and I juggle a lot of balls in the course of a day. But when you think about what it is you're trying to do, it does make it all worthwhile. Personally, the reason I work so hard and why I find this work so important is that I know if I was ever on the other side of it, I'd want someone there like me,
That's it.
looking out for me. So that's kind of what keeps me going.
Yeah. I remember back at the time when I was homeless, I was like 16. They didn't have any such thing as that,
Right.
So I think we're very fortunate to have this here in White River Junction, and it's very exciting to me. And like I said, if we can help you to help a family in need, and to see them progress such as we had with Sergio and his family. And I give him credit, a single dad, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
with
that's
2 kids.
Tough to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not easy.
No.
Jumping through all the hoops that you have to jump through, all the red tape, it's definitely not easy, and it would, be it's so hard. It's by no means easy.
No. And I'm very glad that you did find the support of the people at the Haven, and they're still with you. And from what I understand from Tom and Jody, you've become a part of their family too.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a family member that, like if I have, a need, I just say something and I'm directed to where to go or how to find something, and that just makes it easy, so you don't feel like you're overwhelmed and that it's all upon yourself to find this help. If you can trust in the staff at the Haven, they'll give you all the tools that you need. And it's important that everybody understand that it's their job, not the Haven's job, to follow through on what they give.
That's right. And I think, like you were saying, Sharon, with the other families and stuff, it's kind of like a little community, kind of like you would help a neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of us still keep in touch. We'll ring each other and say hi and how are you guys doing, and so you still kind of have a little bit of connection with some of the families who had left and lived there at the same time that you did.
Well, I am so glad to hear that you got a job that you were looking for. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that you're continuing with the schooling too, right?
Yeah, I'm a senior at Linden State
Wow.
College up in Lindenville, and I should within the year be getting 2 degrees. I'll have my human service and psychology.
I think that's
Bachelor's.
wonderful. I really do. That is way to go. You keep going. That's what I say. You keep going. Yeah.
And you'll be getting those in June?
In fall of 2008, I should be complete.
Okay, so you have 3 semesters left.
Yeah.
Sorry, including the one you just started.
Yeah.
Well, you let me know when you graduate. We'll have a party.
Okay.
I can make awesome cakes. Remember, Jody?
Yes, I remember.
I used to make cake.
Lots of graduations.
Now, I'm not sure if we mentioned the fact that you guys have a shower for anybody that needs a place to take a shower.
We do. That's one of the things, that's one of the benefits of designing a building from the ground up, which we did with our building, which we've been in for 3 years. We could put in all the little things that after 20 years of being in our old building and doing without, I wish we had a shower that, people could use. And so when we designed the building, obviously we included that. So there is a shower that people can use Monday through Friday while we're open, which is 8:30 to 4. People living in their cars, people living in tents, the power goes out, whatever. It doesn't really matter what the reason is. If you need a shower, we have one available, and it gets used. I would say it gets used every day, and sometimes several times a day.
And that's great. And people that are maybe living out in the street and living in the tent, they can come and get food.
Oh yes.
Was it somebody said that they could get bread every day? Is it?
Oh yeah, bread. To get food, you need to get a referral from an agency like the welfare agency or church or therapist or whatever. And you can only come in once a month. That's for a week's worth of groceries,
right?
Which includes, like I said, usually a package of chicken or hot dogs. For bread, though, and for produce, you don't need a referral, and you can come in every single day.
You just walk in.
Just walk in. Don't.
Is it the same thing with a clothing room too?
Yep. Clothing, same thing. And then on the weekends, we put bread out in the lobby.
Yep.
So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's bread out there for people to take. So even if you're working an odd shift or you just can't get to the Haven, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, 8:30 to 4, you can come and get bread anytime. Yep.
And I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to say something that they'd like to say to maybe the community. And I know you got an awesome message. What would you like to say?
I would like to tell families to be strong, and when you hear the word no, to ask why, so that you can understand why a certain agency can't help you, and that for the voting public to who has fears with the homeless community to really look at what the Haven provides and the security that they give.
Donations.
Donations, and and when it comes time to vote for issues, to remember that homeless people need help and that the Haven gives that help.
And they can use money. What's your message?
Gosh, that there are resources out there. Don't just give up and feel like there's no hope. There's always hope.
Don't feel alone.
Don't feel alone. Yeah, there's hope and help.
Tom?
Well, I get the mail every day at the Haven, and so all the checks come by my desk. It's a little thin this time of year. This is not our big fundraising time, but in November and December, there's sometimes 40, 50, 75 checks a day, which is but every single check that runs by my desk, whether it's for $5 or $5,000, every time I see a check that someone's written, took the time out to write us a check to help, because that's really the only way the Haven runs. I mean,
That's right.
Like I said, we only get 8% of our support from the government, so it's by and large it's just people, just like us. We open our checkbook and write a check, but every time I look at a check, my heart leaps a little bit. It's like someone has someone's put faith in the Haven to get the work done, to help people like Sergio and all the other families that we help, and individuals that we help in the food shelf, and the kids that we help in the after-school program, and it's those people that really make that's really what the Haven's all about, is the people who want to help others, and who dip into that pocketbook and make it a reality by sending us a check. So you can't. I have a hard time describing what my job is like. Because it just gives me so much joy to see the generosity of this community. Because I'm not sure the Haven could be duplicated in every community in the United States, but it definitely is. This community here is just unbelievable in terms of its generosity. Because the Haven just we've been able to financially, we're very, very solid. So that's something I'm always very thankful for.
And I know personally myself, when I donate, even if it is just a couple bucks, it's like you said, I feel really good.
Yeah.
Like I'm helping this.
Well, it's funny because I don't judge. Like I said, you get a check for $5 or a check for $5,000. That $5 check may be more of a sacrifice to the person who wrote it than the $5,000 check.
And it gives a good feeling.
Yeah, and just because it's a bigger amount doesn't mean it was more of a sacrifice for that person. That person who wrote the $5,000 check, they might have millions and millions of dollars. Have $5,000, that's nothing. But that person who wrote that and I see him. That person that wrote that $5 check, and very, very frequently it's a very shaky hand. So it's probably someone who doesn't, who's probably older, doesn't have a lot of money, and this $5, they could buy, a couple cans of vegetables or whatever, and so they're really going without by writing us that check. So that those are the checks that really you wonder, why would someone go through the trouble of writing a $5 check, and it's because that's probably all they can afford.
That's all they can afford,
which
right?
means that those are the gifts that really mean a lot.
And so doesn't the big amounts too. And
the big amounts are important too. Don't get me wrong.
But and I think that's nice to know for people like me that maybe live on Social Security disability, that it is hard to come up with donations. But like I said, every little bit helps.
Yep.
Every little bit.
That's right.
I mean, even if it's $1 or $2, you can buy a bar of soap. You know.
But we never take people the money we get from people, we never take it for granted. We work as hard as we can to gain their trust and to earn. So next year they'll give us money again because they feel that their money was well invested and well spent.
And I'm sure it is. I know it is, especially with the power of example right here of Sergio. And we are going to keep up with Sergio because we want to know when he graduates. We want to see the official certificate. Okay.
Definitely.
So you'll come back and show us that.
Definitely. I'll do that.
All right. Well, we've got to end for now, but hopefully we'll hear more from the Haven and the people at the Haven. And I want to thank everybody else at the Haven that volunteers at the Haven. I think that's wonderful. And I'd like to thank Tom and Jody and Sergio and
thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Hope to hear from you again soon. And anybody in the community that don't donate to the Haven, please consider donating, no matter what it is. Food, clothing, a little bit of money, a lot of money, Time, volunteering. Yeah, I think that would be great. And when we end, could you give the website, and we're going to put it at the end too, along with my phone number. And
sure. The website is www.uppervalleyhaven.org, and our phone number is 802-295-6500.
Okay, and that's it for Walking Through Life today. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.